Over the past 3 months, we have been bringing you stories from the front lines of the Israel-Gaza War. But now, we want to hear from you. What do you think about the war? How has it affected you? And what message do you have for the world? Share your story with us by emailing the address provided below. Your story could be featured in our upcoming documentary. On October 7th, 2023, everything changed. It was a Saturday morning like any other until it wasn't. As the sun rose over the Gaza Strip, an eerie silence hung in the air. Little did the residents know that within hours, their lives would change in ways they never imagined. At 6:30 a.m., rockets streaked across the sky, shattering the tranquility of the morning. It was the first salvo of a massive rocket barrage launched by the Palestinian militant group Hamas. From the northern reaches of the Gaza Strip to its southern borders, the air was filled with the roar of missiles. These were not your average attacks. This was a surprise assault, a well-coordinated offensive aimed at the heart of southern Israel. For many Israelis, the attack came as a shock, a stark contrast to the sense of security they had grown accustomed to. Homes were destroyed, leaves were shattered, and the landscape of the region was forever altered. Eyewitnesses recount the scene as one of chaos and confusion. People rushing to shelters, diving under desks, or huddling together in a desperate attempt to find safety. The ground trembled beneath their feet as the relentless bombardment continued. It was a scene that played out not just in one city, but across multiple communities in southern Israel. Hamas, known for its military wing, the Izzat al-Akbar Brigade, claimed responsibility for the attack. They stated that the operation was in response to decades of Israeli occupation of Palestinian territory and the ongoing tensions at Al-Aqsa Mosque. It was a bold move, a daring attack that would send ripples far beyond the borders of Israel. The death toll mounted. It was a grim reminder of the human cost of this conflict. Homes were burnt, vehicles destroyed, and the familiar surroundings of daily life turned into a scene of devastation. Some fled to safer parts of Israel, while others stayed put. Fear etched on their faces as they watched their world crumble around them. Among the casualties were not only civilians, but also members of the Israel Defense Forces. Video circulating showed scenes of burning cars and smoke-filled streets. Amidst the chaos, the sirens blared, each one a reminder of the precariousness of their situation. It was a moment of terror, a harrowing experience that left an indelible mark on those who lived through it. As the dust began to settle and the echoes of the rocket fire faded, the true extent of the damage started to become clear. In the immediate aftermath of the attack, there was shock, disbelief, and an outpouring of support from around the world. The international community condemned the attack, calling for a peaceful resolution to the conflict. But on the ground, the situation was dire. Homes were destroyed, infrastructure was crippled, and fear hung heavy in the air. Amidst the ruins, stories of heroism and resilience emerged, neighbors helping neighbors, medical services struggling to cope, and a community coming together in the face of adversity. It was a testament to the human spirit, a beacon of hope in the darkest of times. Yet as the sun set on that fateful day, the future remained uncertain. The attack had not only shaken Israel to its core, but also raised questions about the path forward. The road to recovery would be long and arduous. The scars of this day would run deep. But amidst the rubble and the grief, the people of Israel were determined to rebuild. And then came the response. Israel's answer to the attack was swift and forceful. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu declared that his country was at war and vowed a response befitting of the attack. The world watched intently as Israel prepared for action. The scale and intensity of the response were unprecedented. Israel mobilized thousands of soldiers, recalled reservists, and deployed advanced military equipment. A state of emergency was declared, and a curfew imposed as the nation geared up for what lay ahead. As the clock ticked, the world braced for impact. On October 9th, 2023, Israel launched its first airstrikes on Gaza, marking the commencement of Operation Shield of the Desert. These were no ordinary strikes. They were meticulously planned, highly coordinated, and designed to cripple Hamas's military infrastructure. The Gaza Strip was the primary target, a region already grappling with the aftermath of the initial rocket attack. High-precision munitions were employed, showcasing Israel's technological edge. But the impact went beyond the military. Homes were flattened, streets turned into scenes of devastation, and the psychological toll on the residents was immeasurable. The strikes continued relentlessly, day after day, forming a grim backdrop to the unfolding conflict. Each explosion, each tremor resonated not only within the borders of Gaza, but also in the hearts and minds of those watching around the globe. As the dust settled on each strike, questions arose about the wider implications. Was this the start of a full-scale war? How would the international community respond? And most importantly, what would it mean for the countless lives caught in the crossfire? But the military campaign was just one part of Israel's response. Another crucial aspect was the total siege of Gaza. All movement in and out of the Gaza Strip was halted. The rationale was to prevent the flow of weapons and to ensure the safety of those in Israeli-held territories. However, this measure had profound implications for the civilian population. Food, water, and medical supplies became scarce. The economy ground to a halt, and the psychological toll on the residents became immense. Then there was the human element, the hostages taken during the initial attack. Their fate became a focal point of international concern. Negotiations were tense, releases were made, but many still remained captive. Every day brought new demands, new threats, and a constant undercurrent of anxiety. Yet amidst all this, glimmers of humanity occasionally surfaced. Medical evacuations were sometimes allowed, prisoners were occasionally released, and aid efforts were planned. These moments served as stark reminders of the values and principles that were at stake in this conflict. As the days turned into weeks, the situation in Gaza grew increasingly precarious. Hospitals struggled to function, sanitation systems collapsed, and malnutrition became a concern. The international community called for a humanitarian pause, urging Israel to allow for the delivery of aid and the evacuation of civilians. But the calls for mercy were often drowned out by the continued military operations. Despite the grim situation, the people of Gaza displayed remarkable resilience. Community kitchens were set up, makeshift clinics functioned, and neighbors looked out for one another. It was a powerful display of the human spirit, a testament to the strength that can be found in unity and shared adversity. However, the situation took a darker turn when reports of alleged war crimes surfaced. Both sides accused each other of targeting civilians, committing atrocities, and failing to uphold international law. These accusations only added to the complexity of the conflict, raising questions about accountability and justice. On December 2023, Israel's ground invasion of Gaza commenced, marking a significant escalation in the conflict, codenamed Operation Iron Swords. The invasion involved thousands of troops who crossed into Gaza through land and sea. The immediate objective was to establish a buffer zone along the Israel-Gaza border. However, the scope of the operation soon expanded, leading to intense urban combat. As the ground war intensified, so did the loss of life. Medical services in Gaza were already stretched to their breaking point, and the influx of casualties overwhelmed the available resources. The international community expressed grave concerns about the humanitarian consequences. The repeated calls for a ceasefire or a humanitarian pause went largely unheard. The fighting continued unabated. As the war dragged on, the global impact became more apparent. Energy prices fluctuated, global markets were affected, and diplomatic efforts to broker a ceasefire remained elusive. The world was witnessing not just a conflict, but a major humanitarian crisis unfolding live. Amidst the ruins of Gaza City, the human toll became impossible to ignore. Homes were reduced to rubble, vital infrastructure was destroyed, and the daily struggles for survival overshadowed every aspect of life. Even as some aid trickled in, it was often not enough to meet the growing needs of the population. Throughout this ordeal, the images and videos coming out of Gaza painted a haunting picture of the reality on the ground. Homes destroyed, families torn apart, and medical facilities struggling to cope. The world watched with bated breath, hoping for a swift resolution to this unfolding tragedy. But as the conflict entered its fourth month, hope seemed to dwindle. The war in Gaza is not just a political conflict, it's a deep humanitarian crisis. People around the world are calling for peace and justice, but a real solution still seems far away. So here's where you come in. We want to hear your story. How has the war affected you? What do you think about the war? And what message do you have for the world? Share your story with us by emailing the address provided below. Your story could be featured in our upcoming documentary. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe for more updates.